Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Dear Excellency Ambassador Esma Jehan and our ICYF team, our Diplomacy Academy candidates from all over the world, from OIC and beyond. We're very pleased today to have you in a very, very special session with Her Excellency Ambassador Esma Jehan, who is actually our special guest today. In the very early beginning, let me apologize for not able to have with us today Her Excellency Ambassador Nasima Baghli, and she promised to be with us in other sessions. She couldn't make it today. However, I'm very, very pleased myself that we're having really a great ambassador with us, and we will be serving the purpose by having Her Excellency to share with us such a great experience. So I am Fadila Grain, the Senior Advisor at the ICYF, and I will be moderating this session. That is very important and extremely important session. To give you a little introduction about the Diplomacy Academy. Diplomacy Academy, this is the fourth session. We had one in 2019, 2020, early 2020, and we have the third session, and this is the fourth session of the Academy. And we are pleased that the numbers of our young diplomats increasing, and our people, young people all over the world are actually more interested in this program that aims at contributing to the education and the development of Muslim youth in the theoretical and practical terms about current international relations issues. This program also seeks to equip them with the critical diplomatic skills needed in the near future through this multicultural platform that brought together experts, diplomats, ambassadors, policymakers, experts, politicians, academicians, researchers, all to speak to you about these issues, relevant issues, international issues. We actually had in mind today to answer many questions and many requests from young girls diplomats, female diplomats with us, wanting to understand more about the realities and the prospect of diplomacy for female, young females in the OIC region and beyond. And for that purpose, we selected a very special diplomat, dear diplomat to us, my colleague and friend, Ambassador Esma Jehan, who is actually graduated from the career of Foreign Affairs in Bangladesh. She pursued her education in the University of Dhaka with honors and master's degree in economics. Later, she did her MA in Law and Diplomacy from the Fletcher School, Tufts University with cross-registered coursework at Harvard University, Boston, US. She was also a fellow in the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University, and she had a very long career in diplomacy that she can actually share some of her great experiences with us today. During her diplomatic career, she served as in various capacities at Bangladesh's Foreign Affairs Ministry, as well as missions abroad, including Bangladesh Permanent Mission in New York City, Geneva, and High Commission in New Delhi. She was Bangladesh ambassador to Netherlands from 2005 to 2007. Also, she served as the Director General of the International Organizations, United Nations and multilateral economic affairs wings of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Bangladesh. In July 2016, she was appointed as the head of the OIC's Permanent Observers Mission at the European Union. And that's when I came to meet and work with this great ambassador who actually served a lot, especially in the women issues, and I look at her as a reference when it comes to women empowerment, and together we served to empower women in the OIC member states. So today we wanted Her Excellency to enlighten us with her experiences, to talk to us about this career for women, for young girls, tell us about the difficulties, talk to us heart to heart, the girls who are waiting to listen to you today, about what they expect in their career. Should they go forward for this? Should they expect it to be actually a bliss, or it has a lot of challenges? And also some of your very personal experiences, because our girls would like to know also as a person how you made it up to become a great example for diplomats. So Excellency, I would like to give you the floor for 25 minutes, let's say, and then I have already many questions for you, and we will also open the floor for more questions from our audience. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear Dr. Fadila, thank you very much for your very kind introduction, if I may say, for your kind words about me. And you and I, we had also been able to join some meetings on women issues, if you remember, some years ago together. Yes. And it was a very enjoyable and very enriching experience for me. I thank Mr. Taha Ayhan, President of the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, for inviting me today. I feel deeply honored, in fact, in having this opportunity to interact with the Diplomacy Academy, and as you mentioned, young ladies who have joined or are been interested to join diplomacy. It is really my pleasure to try and share my own experiences. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and Assalamu alaikum. Needless to say, the topic of our discussion today is very close to my heart. If you allow me, I should like to begin with a quote from feminist author Diane Mary Schild. She wrote, and I quote, "A woman is the full circle. Within her is the power to create, nurture, and transform." What in a sense she meant is, given the opportunities, women are able to unleash their hidden potential successfully in all fronts. So women's participation in diplomacy surely plays a major role in women's overall empowerment. I must recall that even when women were legally barred from foreign policy, as has been the case in many countries, women had played an important role in diplomacy. Notably, however, women's contribution to diplomacy then was mostly as the wives or daughters of diplomats. They were particularly assigned to take care of large diplomatic households, entertaining guests, and preparing official dinner parties. Since the third quarter of the 20th century, women are gradually, but happily I should say, surely finding their way directly into diplomatic service, even though admittedly they are still grossly underrepresented. And unfortunately, there are still people, both men and women, who still think that the diplomat's job, for example, is a man's job. Traditions, gender bias, and stereotypes are seen as obstacles to women from joining the foreign service. There are doubts which are often expressed whether women can be equally as effective as men in diplomatic positions that involve direct dealing with other nations or other nationals. It is also claimed that women themselves are less willing to apply for these positions, apprehending, as for example, the difficulties they might face in combining family life with a demanding career. Now, speaking on women in diplomatic mission, the reality and the prospect, as our dear moderator has mentioned, I should speak about my own experience as a diplomat in the Bangladesh Foreign Service. To me, it seems just the other day, that I walked through the corridors of the Foreign Ministry. When I come to think of it, it is almost 37 years ago. I think many of you were not even born then. I began my career with the feelings of thrill and as well fulfillment, I should say, being able to join a profession that was essentially male-dominated, with only 2 other women who had joined before me. It was not until 1979 that the first women joined the Bangladesh Foreign Service through open competitive exams. As I look back to my early days in the Foreign Office, I can perhaps now better compare and contrast my own experience with my women colleagues who joined later. Obviously, they do not encounter the same challenges. To give a very basic, but I think very important example, on the very first day of my joining the Foreign Service, when I went to the very impressive Foreign Office building of Bangladesh, I felt and I realized that it was not yet ready for women officers. Bare essentials, such as designated toilets for women, were utterly absent. And I mean it, it was really absent. We had to go to their library for such facilities. Over the years, happily, things have changed and changed for the better. So has been the increase in the number of women joining the service. Well, speaking of the glass ceiling as a barrier to promotion prospects or appointment to high positions, luckily the situation is not bad in Bangladesh's context. Many of its missions abroad are now headed by women. As my country's first women permanent representative to the UN in New York in 2007, I was happy to demonstrate that women can and should have a place at the global negotiating table. Also, I'm happy to note that at the OIC level, there is also a growing number of women occupying various important positions. Well, as you may know, the OIC missions in Brussels and Geneva are also headed by women. This is a matter of, I think, pride that the OIC has come a long way, but I'm sure there is much more way to cover. Now, going back to my own experience in the Foreign Service, the question is, did we then or do women officers still face discriminations? I would say no. But I must also agree that there are some subtle discriminations. However, it is perhaps not as bad as it had been in some other countries, including the United States in the 50s and 60s also, when women had to remain single to continue to serve in the Foreign Service. While there is no such compulsion to stay single nowadays, however, women in the Foreign Service all over the world, I think it's all over the world, often need to choose between a career and family. And it is also, they find it difficult to come up with a balance. Interestingly, with more women in the Foreign Service now in Bangladesh, the Foreign Services Wives Association, which was previously called, has now become Foreign Service Spouses Association. This itself shows that there is a change in the mindset as more and more women are joining. On postings in missions abroad, there is usually no discrimination, but there are some unwritten conventions against posting of women in certain positions or in some foreign countries. Much of it is now changing, alhamdulillah, with more women now joining the service. The mindset of male colleagues has successfully been shaken, if not, I should add, totally broken. This was, of course, achieved at substantial cost by the women officers through their hard work and perseverance, especially in the context of the commonly held perception that the woman must work harder than male colleagues to earn the same level of respect, trust, confidence, and even sometimes equal salary. However, let us not forget that while assertiveness is a very acceptable quality in men, the same in women is, however, looked down as being overly aggressive, ambitious, or even arrogant. These are societal mindset which needs to be changed. But we should not be afraid of changing those things. Generally speaking, female diplomats are faced with an all too familiar ultimatum. I think I've already said that, but let me repeat. This ultimatum is family or career. Choose one. Work-life balance is undeniably difficult for women. Caring for children, elderly parents, and ordinary domestic responsibilities all seem to be women's issues. However, in today's world, in the modern age, these are the roles which should be interchangeably carried both by men and women, by both spouses in a household. Among the challenges, besides gender bias, there are also harassments at workplace, whether physical, psychological, or sexual. These are often cited. In order to encourage greater understanding of women's presence in the Foreign Service, I strongly believe that training in gender sensitivities for both men and women should be an integral part of the curricula of the Foreign Service Academy or the Diplomacy Academy that we are now dealing with in this today. The OIC 10-year program of action, as well as the plan of action for the advancement of women, articulate the member states' commitment to addressing a range of challenges faced by women and to ensuring political, economic, social, and cultural representation of women at all levels of decision-making. Here you say, please note that it is just not only representation of women, but it is at all levels of decision-making, because we find that, there are sometimes cosmetic inclusion of women in number, but they are absent from the level of decision-making. We just had a ministerial conference on women in Cairo yesterday of the OIC, where His Excellency, the Secretary General, had reaffirmed that women's participation in political, economic, social, and cultural life is an imperative. This is very important, and I would hope and believe that OIC would be having more women in his workforce, at decision-making level, in the General Secretariat itself, as well as other affiliated bodies. Referring to international covenants, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which is more commonly known as CEDAW, and I had the privilege to serve on the CEDAW body for about 8 years. I would say that the convention, specifically in its Article 8, obliges state parties to ensure participation of women at all levels and in all areas of international affairs without discrimination. This, in effect, means women should be allowed and be able to represent the country at international level, as well as to participate in the work of international organizations. The UN Security Council Resolution 1325 also provides a comprehensive framework for intensifying the role of women in peace building and conflict resolution. In our efforts to increase women's representation in diplomacy, affirmative actions, including the use of quotas or temporary special measures, are popular ways to encourage women's equal representation. Madam Moderator, in closing, I will leave more time for question and answer if there are any questions, if there are any. In closing, let me stress that many women across the world have already proved that given the opportunity, they can contribute in the most efficient and competent way in the field of diplomacy, equally with their male counterparts, if not sometimes they even excels, in a field which still continues to be rather a male preserve. We must, however, change the approach to diplomacy into a more flexible system, which recognizes the fact that both men and women should be able to manage and coordinate work-life balance. It is not only for women to strive to make the balance. Finally, in maintaining gender and women's perspective in our respective foreign offices, it is important to network individually or collectively with other women diplomats. This is a message that I'd like to put across to the young ladies who have joined or are aspiring to join diplomacy. Such networking surely provides a platform for women diplomats for exchanging good practices and lessons learned. Through such solidarity, we can promote gender equality in diplomacy. At least I believe so. And with these words, or thank you I should say thank you very much for your kind attention. And I will be happy to respond to any questions or comments that you may have. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Excellency Ambassador Ismet Jehan, for this wonderful presentation. Thank you for taking your time to share with us today your extraordinary and wonderful experience of yours. If not phenomenal, I don't know what else to call the presentation you just gave. You brought to us very beautiful memories about the great work we have been doing together for the sake of our youth and women. Congratulations for the successful meeting in Cairo. I have been following. My heart and prayers were with you. Thank you again very much for making this session really successful one. We have with us right now more than 350 young people, males and females, listening to your experience. And I really greatly appreciate your presentation and your very beautiful, experience. I have with me already a few questions from the audience. From Ms. Betul Semerci from Turkey. She said, international organization has strong influence over international politics. How would international organization contribute to the potential of gender balance on international relations? This is kind of a general question, but she was the first one who asked, so we are taking her question. Excellency, would you like me to give you all the questions and you pick which one you start, or you wanted us to give you one by one?
I think one by one would be very useful so that I don't miss out.
Okay, so please go ahead. We answer the question of Ms. Betul first. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. If I understood that, what the international organizations can do to enhance or encourage women in diplomacy, am I correct in
yes.
Okay,
yes.
As I said that, obviously the international organizations base their policies on international human rights standards, conventions, and I would refer to the CEDAW conventions, which is a universal convention with almost all the members of the United Nations, except for 4 countries, have joined. So it's a universal convention, and CEDAW, I'd like to refer to Article 8, which says that when asking state parties, when they present their report, it is always mentioned that how are you encouraging more women to join the Foreign Service, also to participate in international negotiations, in international missions, as well as to be posted in international organizations. So there, and it's not only, there are also things that it's not the number, but the level. It has to be also in decision-making level. That is one. And we have seen also the OIC, which also is an international organization, or rather it's an intergovernmental organization. They also have their policies, which I have referred to with the plan of action, as well as the 10 years plan general, to encourage more women in all spheres of the life, in political lives. And when you talk about political life, it means also diplomatic arena. I think I have tried to answer the question.
Thank you, Excellency. You did actually a beautiful job. You have another question from Ms. Alija Gattas from Bosnia. And she said, how does it feel to be a woman in a male majority arena? You already shared some of your experiences, but I think there is a call for more experiences and more incidents or more stories to tell about how did you feel as a female, especially on those meetings that you feel alone, or you're being new in a mission where you are not being actually appreciated enough being a woman, because we read a lot and the girls actually having lots of questions around that. How to overcome actually those feelings. Go ahead, please, Excellency.
Thank you. I think, I would try to recapitulate what I said about my own experience. As I said, in the very beginning, men were not really used to see women in the foreign ministry. But personally speaking, I never felt uncomfortable. But it's true that women had to prove themselves more so that men could forget that cliches that women are incapable, they are weaker sex, and they cannot be entrusted with responsibility. I say from the very beginning, I took my work seriously. It is very important for everybody, male or women, to take your job seriously, to give it time, and to excel. So there is no scope for saying that you cannot do it because you are a woman. Yes, there have been time. I'm talking about 37 years ago. Often you'd think about staying back in office very late and going home late. There could be some issues of security concern, but I think that can be overcome. So I think men or the society are now taking women seriously in their job in diplomacy, in negotiation. There are a few countries I don't want to name here, but you are aware, where even if women are included in the delegation, they are just there to be silent. But it is important to show that one is working hard, which makes you indispensable for the work of the delegation or of your foreign ministry. So I didn't have any experience where I felt discriminated. As I said, maybe I was lucky, but it is important to show that you mean business. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency. I think the concern and more questions of this type are with me right now. And it's coming from attending sessions where other women in international organizations and diplomatic missions, and especially in older generation, they have been sharing that it was really hard for them, especially the part that they had to really prove themselves. Why do they have to prove themselves harder? Why it's not up to their work to decide whether they are eligible to take more stronger missions or to play bigger roles? It was, again, always she has to prove herself over and over for a male decision maker to pick her up for a mission or for a job to do. So this is really a big struggle, and I have been myself dealing with this question with many girls when we're talking about empowering young girls diplomats to climb the ladder of positions and decision making, and they have real fears. That's why they wanted to how to say, get to know more from a diplomat who really practiced, and probably you didn't have your negative any negative experience coming from Bangladesh, where women are really empowered in politics, but probably also you worked with many other diplomats, female diplomats from other regions in the OIC area and even non-OIC, where they share lots of bad experience. As you know, we attended that in the CSW sessions, and it was always quite an issue. So that's why we're having more girls asking these questions, and they say, is my way and the way of my colleagues nowadays easier for me to climb, or do I will have to face the same challenges that my mother or grandmother faced to become a diplomat? So that was actually the issue. Probably you will have that in mind when answering the rest of the questions. Ms. Aysel Razulova from Azerbaijan, she's asking, what is the most important skill for youth to acquire to become great diplomats?
Okay.
Excellency? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much. Let me just say what you have first before I react to the question of the skill. You have rightly said that, you know, what our grandmothers and mothers have, and as I said, even from my own experience, what I had experienced, I gave you just an example of the absence of designated toilets, which is very important. But those things are not, such hurdles are not there anymore. I think in every places there are, seeing that women are coming. And I think over the years, things are better. It hasn't gone away, I would say. Still, the stereotypes, gender biases are there, but we have to try and get rid of this by our own examples. I don't want that, you know, one should be arrogant, but I should say we have to be assertive. Nothing comes easy. Nothing comes easy, I should say, but we have to be assertive with politeness. I'm not going to say start a revolution, but we have to be assertive in a way that this is the way I feel. You should be able to speak out. If you feel that your promotion is unduly been held back because you are a woman, if you feel that, you know, that may not be the case, you can say that, you know, is this the reason and why? But at the same time, don't lose your heart. Keep hammering. And with regard to the skill, the specific question, there is no, what should I say? It's a one size fits all kind of thing. The skill, I would say, is the essential. The skill of diplomacy is there. There is always a saying, I don't remember who said, that women can do negotiations very well, because as, for example, as a mother, if there are 2 children aged 4 and 6, this is not my own quotations, but I'm trying to paraphrase. If there's 1 chocolate remaining, and then there are 2 children who are claiming it, a mother knows how to negotiate, either to divide it or to say to the older one, leave it for your younger sibling. These are art of negotiations. But women's skill, as I would say, that it is, as I said, hard work. Try to keep yourself abreast of on international affairs, as well as what's happening in your own country. That is very read keep yourself abreast, and don't shy. I personally, I would say that, I'm a shy person, but I had to overcome that shyness. And because, you have to meet people from different parts of the world, be open to different culture, try to make friends. Friendship is a very important skill, I should say, how to make friends. Even if you don't like somebody or some country's position, you have to know, you should be having the skill to do it in an artful way, in a skillful way. So reading is very important. Maintaining composure is also very important. And networking. You can network with your senior women colleagues, and you can also have a mentor. Don't be afraid of having a mentor. That can be a male or a female colleague who would be able to give you guidance. So I think, it's a skill. That's what I thought of.
Thank you, dear Ambassador, for this wonderful. Actually, it's really, really hitting the points directly, and this is exactly what our young people they are in need to hear from you. I would like to also take a question from Mr. Ifat Ali from Bangladesh. I hope I'm saying Ifat is a name for a boy or a girl in Bangladesh. You know better, Excellency. I hope I'm not making a mistake. He's or she is asking, what are the differences and similarities between the plan of empowering women in EU and OIC? The difference between the EU and the OIC, since you are permanent in the EU, in the mission. So this is the question from Bangladesh.
Okay, thank you, and greetings to my colleague. I don't know, but my greetings goes to everybody who made the question. So don't think I'm being partial to someone from Bangladesh.
No. By the way, Excellency, by the way, I would like just to share with you that Bangladesh this year is the youth capital of ICYF, and we had tremendous and beautiful programs with Bangladesh young people and international in the OIC region. And if you wish, we can share with you a lot of what happened in Bangladesh this year. And we just recently had the closing ceremony. It was a really, really rich year with Bangladesh. So just to make you feel more proud of Bangladesh, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you very much. It's good to know that you were interacting with Bangladesh. And I think there are many positive things to, especially with regard to women's empowerment, to at least try and see if that experience can be emulated elsewhere. Well, I would say that, EU and the OIC, on the level of women's empowerment, I mean, there would be some differences. I would speak from my experience from the CEDAW. I felt that is the Convention on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, where we dealt with reports coming from all regions, Muslim majority, and even where Christian majority, and developed and not so developed, underdeveloped countries. We found that, there is often that traditions, and in some respect, religion is often cited as negating women's empowerment in some ways or the others. But I think it's not really religion, but sometimes the traditions and social attitudes are passed on as religious precepts. If I give you an example, also from the CEDAW's perspective, because I was representing the OIC in the Council of Europe, and the negotiations was on the issues of female genital mutilation and the issue of child marriages. On both counts, I was able to refer to OIC's position that female genital mutilation, FGM, is not ingrained in Islam. And I think, you know, when we talk about the EU, they have some kind of modernity, if they call it, but I don't see it's a modernity, it's a process. Because when you look at the West in its past, especially if you're reading novels like, you know, Jane Austen and others,
Yes.
you will see that the position of women or girls in society were different, maybe because of the societal situation during that period. But we know with the change, we see more and more similarities between what is perceived as West and East. It is important, however, for us in the East to overcome traditional attitude which usually comes on the way of women's empowerment. So the responsibility is on every person in the society, male, female. I would say more on the male. When you find that your family, within the family, your father and your brother, they are very willing to accommodate your empowerment, it is reassuring. So there is no conflict. But what I would say between the EU and the OIC, what I would say that there is a need to overcome that mindset that the women are only meant to be, or rather, not only, they are mostly most effective in household arenas, in the social circles, and not in the mainstream politics and diplomacy.
Thank you, Excellency, for this.
Maybe I took a little time to explain,
Yes,
but
yes.
I hope I tried to answer the question.
It's very good. Thank you very much. We really appreciate this answer, and I'm sure it's your message is really hitting the point. Would like also to take a question from Mr. Abbas Hassan from Sudan. And he's saying that countries heavily stressed on gender quotas on their domestic politics, such as Germany, for example, lately. What are the general stance on this issue as an expert in EU issues?
Could you kindly repeat what are the?
What's their general stance? Like, it's based on what they are taking the quotas for the political balance, gender balance, especially in Germany. I mean, this is the question, how it is formulated. I guess I'm having the understanding that he's telling us whether the gender quotas in domestic violence are good solutions to make the balance, or to bring the gender balance into involving more women in politics and diplomacy. What is your what's your opinion about this issue?
I would say that I already mentioned in my presentation that affirmative action or quotas, or call it temporary special measures, are important in encouraging women's participation in politics. And this can be, as I mentioned in the Convention on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, it has been specifically mentioned that to encourage women in politics and public life, quotas are important, because this is to ensure a level playing ground, because for the time being, maybe the women are not having enough access to politics. That can be done through encouraging political parties to nominate more women on their electoral role, encouraging women to come for voting, and also, I should say, given opportunities to train women candidates. Often we see that, politics entails money, some kind of fund is required, and a woman may not have that kind of funding to back her electoral campaign. So there has to be, the political parties would need to take a role in that. And also the society. It is very important to encourage I know of a mindset, even though I would say that in Bangladesh, women have been in politics, in public life for decades, but it is still, I should say, a constant effort to include women. And these quotas and affirmative actions indeed help. And we have seen in some countries there are reservation of seats for women in the national parliament. And some countries and even some women have said that, no, we don't need quotas. That's their individual choice. But it is the recommendation from the CEDAW. And personally, I see it's also very important to use quotas for encouraging more women to join.
Thank you, Excellency. I'm having a little different type of question coming from Amsiar Ahmed, saying, Excellency, based on your experience and the OSCE representatives to the EU, what is the root cause of Islamophobia in certain parts of Europe at the moment, especially in regards to the hijab ban practiced against Muslim women and its effects on her position in joining international organizations or diplomacy or politics? As we know that there was the first ambassador in one of the Europe countries, and there was so much it was too much on social media about this is the black day of this country. I don't want to mention because of this lady ambassador is a hijabi from Morocco, originally from Morocco. So this is also a question that is actually, I have a few of these questions with me.
Okay, Islamophobia is really a big challenge in the West, in Europe. I mean, it also needs to be addressed through measures. But as you see in many of these countries where they're right-wing, ultra or extreme right-wing, they are using it in their political jargons, in their political ways of, how should I say, to get more votes, more popular sentiments, yes, that been anti-Muslims or Islamophobia. Yes, that is something we try to, in our, from the mission, Brussels mission, we are engaging with the European Commission, with the European Parliament, to see that how that can be tackled. It's not a easy job, as you know, because media portrays, unfortunately, they portray Muslim women as not having the rights, which is not true. I have to tell them that about, giving the past, the historical past. I have to give example from Holy Quran to say that, women per se are not being denied the rights under Islam. That is one thing. The issue of hijab, yes, you are very right that, many of these countries, EU members are increasingly coming down against wearing of hijab in public spheres, and also banning girls to wear hijab in schools or women in public employment. So in my conversation, I would say that, this is, nobody should say what women should wear. I mean, we should not say what to wear and what not to wear. It is the choice of the women. It is very simple and plain. And if you're using the ban, that also stops from girls and women to be accepted in schools. It may stop them from attending schools, as well as denying women, competent women, to be part of the workforce. So this is a big challenge. It is very difficult to go against what their national laws are, but we have our arguments and we try our best.
Yes, thank you very much, Ambassador. Indeed, I'm sure that your mission, especially I follow your activities, and you have been really working hard to clarify the picture and making the distinction between what is cultural and what is religious, and that women in the Arab and the Muslim world, as they are being perceived as really lacking their basic rights, it's not actually something true. It's actually more of propaganda that has been going on, and I'm really proud to have people like you over there standing and clarifying these issues on a daily basis. Still, I have any questions on Islamophobia issues, and then how women should navigate and how should they leave these challenges, especially if they are in Europe. You know that we have some women with us or young girls who are joining us from the Muslim minorities, and they are really touched by the Islamophobic, how to say, acts against them in taking actually their rights and being part of society, whether in national and international organizations, and they really have some concerns. Probably we need to address this issue more in the future, but I'm sure you did a very good job of addressing this question. I would like actually very limited time. I have many questions. I think we have 88 more questions, which is impossible to get anywhere close, but I will take one more question and give you the choice, Ambassador, if you want to take one more or this is the last one. Safia Lahu asked a very good question, saying from Pakistan. She said, Excellency, if the leadership of women in policy making, is it going to change the how international affairs are dealt with? Like, basically, the question, we can say it in a different way. How is the more participation of women in diplomacy and foreign affairs and the existence of women on the table of negotiation, how is it going to change? How do you see it changing the world?
Well, I think, I got the essence of the question is that women's education and skill in foreign service, how it can be encouraged. Is it that one? And what I felt at women's role in negotiation? Madam, can because yes. I couldn't.
Yes, looks like there is a cut in the voice. Let me rephrase this again.
Yeah.
What I understood from the question, Excellency, is how does more women in international organizations, in diplomacy, in the decision-making arena, how will it change the world? How is it going to affect the world? Mm-hmm. What word would it be if more women are engaged in international diplomacy and international organizations, and they are more present in the decision making table?
Okay, no, I get it. It's a very, very good question that, to see the real impact of women in real life, in real action, rather say. It's true that, over and over, if we compare with the past, there are more women joining foreign service and in negotiations. It's true that, in some ways, I would not say this is a women's issue or a man's issue, or women are more capable than men. But the point is that on certain issues, a woman would have to speak of antenna when it comes to women's concern. Like when you're talking about, to give an example, on climate change issues, which are very much an in topic nowadays for some years now, of course, the issue of climate change. And we'd say that it is very important to include women or to hear their voices with regard to the impacts it has, and also in the policies that would be needed to address the challenges of climate change, because many issues, in general, may be overlooked. But when we say that inclusion of women not only as beneficiaries, but as active participants in the policies, then they can say, okay, this is going to impact on women in a different way, because we know climate change impacts women differently. If you want, I can go into examples, but it's true. that women bear the major brunt. And also in the context of conflict, women, as mothers, or as an active soldier in conflict, they bear a different role and they have a different contribution. So if a woman is in the negotiation or in the delegation, they will be able to pinpoint those issues into the negotiation. And also in terms of transitional justice, as you know, after conflict is over, if there are issues of women, sexual harassment and violence against women in times of conflict, those issues can be given more prominent in the negotiation and in the outcome of that. So it is very important to include women in such negotiation, and it does change the world. I mean, you know, at least in the real world, and they are making important contributions. Yes.
Excellency, I will burden you with one more question I could not take, because it's really a very good question, and it's going to be the last question.
Yeah.
It's actually by Mr. Abdul Kun Tufail. He's saying, do you think that women in diplomatic arena are supporting other women enough? Like, you know, the issue of women supporting women, or women helping to empower other women. Is it happening in diplomatic? Is it happening in diplomatic sessions? At least, I mean, in diplomacy at least. So, what do you think, Excellency, about that?
I think, you know, it is happening, you know, and I have, if you have, in my presentation, I also said how important is networking among women diplomats within your country, and sometimes, you know, with your diplomat friends from other countries. You can always share your own experience, learn from their experience, as well as, you know, there are good practices, and through lessons learned, it's very important. And I think such solidarity exists, and women are helping. At least when I do it, I help my female colleagues. I help my male colleagues too, as that's my job, you know, as a woman. But as a diplomat and as a woman, as a worker in the workplace. So this is important, to share our own experience and then to support them, encourage them. And I think it happens. And it's, even if it doesn't happen everywhere, it should happen.
Yes. Well, that's really, was a really, really meaningful presentation. I can't thank you enough, Excellency, for very heartwarming sharing of your wonderful knowledge and experience in this very rich, actually, session that we had. And I really think that we are to want to see you again, and wanted to listen to you again in our upcoming sessions, because we have been really active in ICYF, and we had so many summits for young females, and we had so many wonderful programs to empower girls towards this difficult and challenging road, to prepare them to be part of the international arena, to be part of diplomacy, to be part of the decision making, and also by sharing very successful examples like yours. And we are really trying to set them in this road. I would like, on behalf of His Excellency, the President of ICYF, Taha Ayhan, the ICYF team, 350 participants, young participants with us today, to thank you very much for your wonderful session. And we look forward to see you again, and really have a beautiful weekend from my side. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Wa alaikum salam. Can I just have one?
Yes, please go ahead. Yes.
Okay, no, thank you very much. I would be very happy to remain engaged with the organization, or the as well as with colleagues in the Diplomacy Academy. If any of you feel like reaching out to me, you're most welcome. you will get the email from Madam Dr. Fadila. So I will be most happy to share my whatever experience I have. As I said that, it's 37 years now. It seemed just the other day. As I said,
yes,
many of you have not been born then, but it would be a pleasure. Thank you very much, and thanks to everybody.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Excellency.
Okay,
And
Assalamu
see you
alaikum.
very soon. Ma salama. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Okay.